Okay, so to begin our rollout and recovery session today, we will begin with our yoga, laying flat back down on our mats to begin in Shavasana. We'll begin with some of that nice relaxation. So if you'd like to take yourselves there now, if you're not there already, please join me in doing so. You can take your time trying to get comfortable laying down on our mats. This is a really good opportunity right at the beginning of our practice to set our intention. And today's intention, I would like all of us to just grant ourselves permission to enjoy the stretch, to focus on how each muscle feels as we're really trying to pay attention to that particular body part with each exercise or each pose we come into. If you're having a really fidgety sort of day, if you notice yourself fidgeting all around, it might be more difficult, but not impossible. And when you find yourself fidgeting, I want you just to squeeze those hands, take a big breath in, and then as you exhale, just let everything sink into the mat. And even if just for a few moments at a time, we can find some stillness, that's more than not. And with that intention being set, trying to stay focused, trying to find stillness, I want us to notice our breathing. We know that practicing our deep inhales and exhales, letting our belly rise and fall, helps us clear our thinking. It helps us, make better decisions later. Kind of like cleaning the cobwebs out of the attic. Just a few nice big breaths, noticing how that helps us calm down and feel more relaxed. When you're ready, we'll take that big reach with those arms all the way up over our head. Maybe the arms touch the ground, maybe they don't. Maybe we reach kind of right and left, or maybe we just stay still. Let your ribs really get bigger. So take a few huge breaths here. Feels so good to take this big morning stretch. And we'll release those arms. Take your time. Let's bring the knees into the chest. Holding on to our legs wherever it's comfortable, and go ahead and rock side to side. I love this rocking knees to chest. Maybe feeling some tightness in our hips. Maybe feeling some tightness in our back. Maybe we're rocking and rolling all over the place. Hopefully we're able to control it, really work at that body control. Now keeping a hold of our knees, go ahead and roll through our feet and our ankles. Really important to send all that good, clean, healthy blood down into those little toes, work through any cricks and cracks in our ankles and our feet. We'll come into those single leg stretches, keeping a hold of our right knee, lower the left leg all the way down to the floor. Now pull the right knee out to the right side a little bit more. Notice if we're tilting or falling over, I want us to keep our body flat. So both right and left shoulders stay on the ground. We draw the knee across towards the left shoulder now. Trying to keep everything soft, face, neck, and shoulders. Come through the middle, and we'll lower that all the way down. Taking the left knee up and into the chest when you're ready, give it a nice squeeze, and then open the knee out towards the left side. And we'll bring the knee across towards the right, hugging that thigh in. coming through the middle and lowering down. All right, let's take our feet flat on the floor. We'll go in through some glute bridges, making sure that our back has been worked through. We'll lift our hips up, one vertebrae at a time lifts, resting on our shoulders, and then roll the back down, one vertebrae at a time. So it's very smooth. Lift the hips up, try to squeeze your bum muscles, and then exhale, slowly lower down. This is another one of my favorites, just a nice back massage. Lift the hips up, big inhale. Exhale, slowly lower down. And we'll do one more of these. Inhale, lifting up. And exhale, slowly lowering down. Very good. Let's come into our figure 4 pose next. Stretching through our hips. We'll cross that right ankle over the thigh. You can press your knee away, or we can thread the hands under. Now, if you thread the hands under, sometimes people straighten out this left leg. I want you to really relax it. Go ahead and relax that foot too. So we're focusing all our energy in that right hip, trying to press the knee away, but everything else remains calm. It's soft. It's just relaxed. Now we're going to stay in figure 4 pose. If you have your hands under your leg, just release the leg, set that left foot back on the floor. We're in figure 4. Take your arms out to the side, coming into a twist. First, we'll drop both sides or both legs over to the right side. Try to stay in that figure 4 position. If it slips a little bit, that's okay. You can look over your left arm. And holding our figure 4 in our twist, you might feel a nice stretch through the hips to the back. We'll do the other side, staying in figure 4, come through the middle, and now let everything fall over to the left. And you can look over that right arm. Just notice for a second what you're feeling. It's like going in through an X-ray machine. We get to scan each part of our body and figure out what's happening. Now let's come up through the middle. And we'll lower out those feet. And now before we do the other side, go ahead and just butterfly, flap your wings. And we'll do the other leg. Ready? So we'll take that left foot across into figure 4. Nice and relaxed. You can press your knee away, or you can thread your hands under. And same reminder I'll give, instead of having this other leg really tight, just let it go soft. Just relax it. Press that left knee away, the shoulders are relaxed, the face is calm. It can be hard trying to be calm and relaxed while we're stretching one part of our body. So it's something, again, that takes practice. Now we'll stay in our figure 4 pose. If you've got your hands wrapped around your thigh, just release them, setting the foot back onto the floor. Now we'll all take our hands out to the sides, making like a T with the body. This time we'll drop the legs over towards the left side. And then you can look over that right arm in that little twist. You might feel this through the hip or the back, maybe even the chest. We'll come up through the middle and we'll go the other way. And you can look over the side. Again, if your legs fell out of figure 4, that's okay, but it does give a nice stretch through those hips if you can keep them there. All right, let's come up through the middle. We'll lower the legs. This time, let's take some windshield wipers. Just rock those legs right to left, side to side, scraping off all that snow from your windshield. All right, and then we'll roll over onto our sides, come all the way up and around. Now we're going to be coming into kneeling position. I don't know about you, but I had cold toes to start, so I had my socks on. I'm gonna take my socks off now so that I have better grip on my feet. And then we'll find that figure 4, we'll find that tabletop position on all 4s. Happy hands, taking some cats and cows. Let's inhale, look forward, opening up those eyes. And then exhale, tuck the tailbone, pull your belly button in, and tuck the chin. We inhale, look forward, look tall through the crown of your head, and exhale, round up. Pull your belly button in nice and tight. Inhale, look forward, cow. Exhale, round up to cat. Look up toward your belly button. And one more time, inhale, open. And exhale, round. Coming into all fours again, tabletop position. Nice flat back to start. Pulling those bellies in nice and tight. We'll take our thread the needle. Right arm lifts up first. Big inhale. Exhale, thread all the way underneath. Lay down into your right shoulder. And you can have that left arm reaching forward, or my personal favorite, reaching up to the ceiling. Whatever's more comfortable for you as we stretch through that right shoulder and upper back. Lots of twisting in today's practice. We'll come through the middle. Engage your abdominal muscles. Those tummies are tight as we find tabletop again. We'll do the other side. Inhale, left arm reaches nice and high. Exhale, sweep all the way under, laying it into that left shoulder, that top right arm forward or up. Notice how this left side feels. Maybe it's the same as the right, maybe it's different. That's important things to note too, is if left and right are a little bit different today. Let's come back up to the middle, engage your abdominal muscles. And now press back into child's pose. Sink the hips down to your heels. Maybe you're feeling within your knees, your ankles, your back, or as we reach forward and drop our head, our shoulders. And we'll stretch our lats while we're here, those muscles kind of through your armpits and down the rib cage. We'll walk over to the right. Left hand comes on top of right hand. So you stack your hands and then you sit back more into your left hip. What we're trying to do right now is lengthen the entire left side of your body from fingertips down into that hip bone. Couple slow breaths. And then we walk through the middle, coming over to the left edge of your mat, placing that right hand on top. Sit back into your right hip, and we'll stretch down that whole right side of our body. Coming through the middle. Oh, it feels so good to just stretch longer. Let's lift up into tabletop, coming into our runner's lunge. We'll sweep the right foot forward, help the foot get there if you need to. Knee stacks right above ankle. We're stretching at our hips right now. If you're able to lift your hands up off the ground, we'll bring them to our thigh. And then if you're able to take them that next step, we'll lift them high up above the head, making sure that the whole body stays up straight as we shift forward. If you're gripping your toes, try to lengthen them. You might even need to wiggle your foot out a bit further to keep the knee on top of the ankle. Now, if you're here and you want the extra arm or shoulder stretch, we'll take tricep. So with your right knee in front, let's drop our left hand towards our left shoulder. So just do opposite arm, and then I'm gonna bind my hands behind my back. If you're able to bind your hands, you can do that. Otherwise, you can simply hold that left elbow near your head. Holding this beautiful stretch, we're feeling tall, we're working on balance, and we're lengthening through the left tricep and left hip. Now slowly we'll release our arms. If they were raised, we'll bring them to the floor, coming into our hamstring stretch. Rocking our hips back, pulling those toes up. Ooh, this is too intense for me today. So what I'm going to do is actually walk my hands up. I'm going to balance them on my hips, straightening out my back, sitting deeper through the tailbone so I can get a better stretch through my hamstring. This is why some people have yoga blocks, so that they can hold the yoga blocks to help them with balance. One more big inhale here. And exhale, soften the knee. We sweep our knee back behind us into child's pose. Rest the head as much as you're able. Take a couple big breaths. Now let's lift up into tabletop again. Abdominal muscles engaged as we sweep left foot forward, knee on top of ankle. You can keep your hands here or bring them up onto your thigh. Really tall posture. Roll those shoulders down for me as we lift through the belly and shift the hips forward. Arms can come up above the head. And if you're taking that tricep stretch, we bend the right elbow, trying to pat your right shoulder with your hand. And you can sweep that left hand around your back to bind it. Trying to keep your chin up. See how my face is forward I'm not looking down at my toes. Keep your chin lifted up off of your chest. It gives your shoulder a much better stretch and helps with balance too, keeping your eyes forward. One more big inhale. And exhale, release. Hamstring stretch. So we'll rock the hips back. As we do, we can pull those toes up. All right, let's see here. I'm okay on this side to stay down with my hands, but if I needed to, you could come up with your hands on your hips, right? Hands on your hips or on those yoga blocks if you had them, but I'm okay on this left side. We're so different. Every class we come into, left side, right side. So remember, in yoga, there's no expectations. Now we'll rock forward, sweep back into child's pose, and take a couple of breaths. Getting ready for downward facing dog. Let's reach the hands, really reach all 10 fingers into the ground. We'll curl those toes underneath of us, lifting our hips up nice and high. When we get here, let's work through those feet. Oh my goodness, I'm feeling so much through my calves, my arches. So take your time here, walking the dog, pedaling our feet. Very good. Trying to reach that tailbone up really nice and high, getting a straight back. And we'll hold our down dog. Try to drop those heels towards the floor a bit more. Shake out your head, no. Nod your head, yes. Loosen up that neck. Get ready for pigeon pose. Looking up between our hands, kick your right foot high and bring it all the way through. Foot towards your left hand, knee towards your right hand. So we try to get that leg so it's parallel to the front of our mat, and then that back leg is parallel to the side of our mat. Double check for me your balance. You can lift your hands up. If you find that you're sitting on your hip, I want you to readjust so that you're balancing on your knees and your feet. We're not touching our hip to the floor. And then if you'd like to, we can come down. Whether you're on your elbows or you can stack your hands, make a nice pillow for your forehead. Taking one more nice big inhale here. Exhale, release, slowly coming back into down dog. Taking your time. Trying to work on those nice graceful transitions. You can pedal your feet when you get back to down dog, or you can simply hold it. Trying to get those heels down towards the floor, the chest back between your shoulders. We'll take the other side now, looking up between our hands. Kick your left foot up nice and high. Sweep it through. Foot comes towards the right hand. Knee comes towards the left hand. Press that back leg all the way back. Know that it's straight behind you. Maybe check for balance. And then we can rest down, whether we're up on our hands, elbows, or down, resting on our fists or hands with our forehead. We'll take a few slow breaths. Stretching into our left hip. I appreciate all of you taking so much time to focus. And if you feel like you're not focused right now, let's check back in. Try to focus for a few moments at a time. And we'll slowly pull ourselves up and back into down dog. Now from down dog, I'm going to get all of us to walk our feet up in between our hands, and we'll hang in a forward fold. And from forward fold, we're going to come into a twisted forward fold, which is so nice for our IT bands, those bands up the side of our thighs. What I'm going to do is turn to face forward so that I'm facing with you. Now, we're going to bend the right knee, lots, straightening out our left leg and lifting our left arm up to the ceiling. So if you're kind of sitting into your left hip as you look up towards the ceiling, that right hand can be on the floor or touching your leg, but you'll feel a big stretch as you look up to that left hand through your left hip. Good, take one more big inhale. And exhale, release. We'll do the other side. So now bend your left knee and look up and over that right shoulder. You're kind of sitting into that right hip as you bend that left knee. Good, everyone. This is one of my favorite IT band stretches. Really gets into the top, right up in your glutes. Now slowly come down and let's just hang in forward fold. Relax your head. All right, now slowly softening our knees. We'll come back down into tabletop. Now this time in tabletop, we'll come into our puppy dog pose. So let's all walk our hands just a little bit farther forward. Scooch our hips up, kind of scooping out the back. And then as you reach your arms forward, I can rest my forehead on the floor, but I prefer to rest my chin, really stretching into the back. And stretch the hips up nice and high. And then slither back into child's pose. Slowly coming forward into modified plank so that we can transition ourselves to the floor. Chaturanga, lower the body. You need to move around on your mat a little bit, getting comfortable so that we can take scorpion. We bring both arms out to the side. We'll take our right knee, bend it, right hand under the right shoulder. So right side is bent and we roll over that left side. Holding and supporting. If anyone needs more, you can take both feet on the floor, both knees point up to the ceiling. Let's roll onto the stomach again, taking both arms out to the side. Bring that left hand under left shoulder, bending our left knee or both knees, and then roll over that straight arm. Couple breaths as we stretch through the front of our right chest into that right shoulder. And slowly coming onto the stomach. Both hands can come underneath the shoulders as we lift up for cobra. Really lengthening the neck, lift up through the hips, soft elbows, and we'll press back into child's pose. Slowly lifting ourselves up, and we can come into a seated position. The last thing that we're going to do in our yoga portion of our rollout and recovery class today is going to be a double pigeon. So I want everyone to take your legs into butterfly. Double pigeon, we're going to stack one leg, so from foot to knee, on top of the other foot to knee. Some of us have really great external hip rotation, and your flexibility means that you can end up stacking your legs one on top of the other, kind of like a genie pose. That's what I picture it as. So with your double pigeon, you might look like this, or you could be a little bit tighter in your hips, which I happen to be. So when we do this exercise, we'll do one set at a time. Take that left foot and just get it out of the way. Take your right leg in front of you. So you need to bring it across your body a little bit. And you want this right shin kind of working parallel. Take the left ankle all the way across the knee. So you want to kind of stack your heel and your ankle on top, and then let this knee fall down towards your ankle. So you can see I have quite a bit of space. Sit up as tall as you can, and you can hold your leg in place if you need to, or you can take your hands in front and you can start to fold forward. Now this can be really quite intense for some of us with tighter hip flexors and tighter muscles through the sides of the glutes. So just take your time. If you're finding this quite easy, see if you can just move that heel off the leg a little bit and really stack so that you're one on top of the other, and enjoy the stretch. Good, we'll take one more big inhale. Now exhale, take your time getting out of that. set the feet aside, and we'll switch legs. So now we'll bring the left leg in front. Again, you wanna line the shin up so it's not crisscross. And you wanna try to get it so that it's right in front of you. Take that right ankle on the other side of the knee, and then allow this hip and this knee to come down. So you're trying to get shin on top of shin. Now you can hold it, or you can kind of walk forward and fold. Again, some of you are much better at demonstrating what it could look like. We're all dealing and working with different flexibility, different range of motion. So we'll all look very different in our yoga poses. And I find this particular pose is one of those varying poses. Everyone looks a little bit different. Stretching into that right hip for one more big inhale. And exhale, release, take that leg out. And then just sweep right to left. Right to left. All right. Take those legs and just shake them out. That concludes the yoga stretching portion of our class today. So we'll be moving on to our rollout and recovery. For those of you signing off, I bid you farewell, namaste. For those of you continuing on with me, making sure that you've got your roller. I've also got a ball that I might introduce if you'd like it as we proceed. So again, if you're signing off, goodbye. Thank you for joining us. And if you're going to stay on, maybe grab a quick drink. I have long hair, and with a roller, that's not very good. So I have my hair elastic. I'm going to tie my hair back and we'll get started. The first thing that we're going to do today with our rollout, usually we do our control, right? We make sure that we're comfortable with the equipment that we're using. So we will start with our IT bands. I find that that's very helpful when it comes to a little bit of control. So sitting on it to start with, if you've got a really bumpy IT band, hopefully it's not a bumpy IT band. If you've got a really bumpy roller with all the lumps and bumps, those are great for massage points. Although it's like different thumbs hitting you, but sometimes it's not so nice just sitting on it. It's not very comfortable. So if you haven't yet grabbed a hand towel or a little blanket, you can have that on here as well. And then you just remove it when it gets in the way or when you don't need it anymore. All right, so now that we're sitting on it, we're a little bit comfortable with it. I want you to extend one leg, and then we're going to take this other leg in front. So now we're kind of rolling onto our side. With our IT band, it's a band that crosses our hip and crosses our knee. So we have to do big rules first to see where on that IT band we need to spend our focus. So I want you to all just start with this kind of side plank position, moving back and forth. And your body may have already told you now what you need to focus on, or maybe it's just nice doing the whole length. And if it's nice just going back and forth like this, keep going. If you're like me and you've now realized, no, I need to focus more on one part, then you're going to start to shorten up your rolls and you'll go a little bit. And if anyone's body is really screaming at them, if you found some sweet spots, I like to call them, you're going to hold it, take a couple really good breaths, relax a little bit more, remind yourself that it's okay, you're in control of your stretch, and then you do a few nice big long rolls. And then you can find that spot again. Maybe you can do short rolls or you have to hold it. And you take a couple more nice slow breaths. You're in control. This is okay. And then you go through it again. Now I'm on my hands because I prefer that, but if that bothers anyone's wrist, feel free to come down onto your elbow. It just might mean that you have to move your roller a bit more. I also have an extra long roller. So mine is double the size of most personal rollers. I prefer that, just it gives me more space. And you might have to just move your roller forward and back, side to side. All right, so let's finish up this side, and we're going to come and sit back up on top. Take your time here, sitting on top of that roller. Get our bearings, make sure we're good in position on our mat, on our roller, and then we'll do the other side. So now we'll straighten out the other leg, lean into that hip, take our hands down and cross our free leg in front. Now this free leg that's in front, that's your kickstand or your anchor. So it's giving you all your balance and support. So make sure that it's comfortable where you've got it as we start to roll back and forth over this IT band. IT band again crosses your hip to past your knee into your shin. And we're just going to figure out if there's any tight spots on that. If you want to keep doing the long rolls, you can. If you found that there's one spot in particular you should start focusing on, maybe you need to shorten up those strides. And if ever there's a sweet spot yelling at you, a reminder to give yourself permission to just lean into it, hold it, take a couple breaths, and then a couple long rolls to flush all of that out. And then maybe the sweet spot moves, maybe it goes away, or maybe you need to return to it and give it some more love. Okay, we'll just do a couple more on here. Good, everybody. All right, and then we'll bring ourselves up into that seated position again. Take your time. Find your control. If you've moved on your mat. Now we're going to take ourselves into some glutes. So focusing on the glutes can be a little bit tricky, trying to figure out where we need to go. So what we'll start with is just the whole bum to begin with. So you take your hands behind you, have your fingers face out to the side, flare your fingers out so they're spread wide, bend your elbows a little bit, and just make sure you're not leaning into your shoulders. Healthy shoulders, pop your chest up or puff it up. And I just want you to start kind of rocking back and forth. And it might feel weird, you might not feel anything. I'm gonna have to straighten my legs out. I wasn't feeling very much there. See if I can feel anything as I straighten my legs out a bit more. Maybe you are. I'm still not feeling anything. Now I'm going to focus it on one side. So sitting, I'll cross my right ankle over. Now that my right ankle is crossed over my knee, I'm gonna lean towards that right knee. It's normally a no-no. I know in yoga I say never tilt, never lean. So we've got that right hip exposed. Now we're going to start, oh, and now I'm feeling it. But I think I can go one step further. So I'm actually going to balance just on my left hand and right foot, picking my right hand up. Now I'm really leaning into this hip. And I've found my sweet spot. I've finally tricked my body into giving me the muscles that need the attention. They like to hide, right? If you have a sore or a spot on your body that hurts, you don't like to use it, right? If you have a paper cut, you tend to avoid using that finger. You keep it wrapped up in a Band-Aid. Kind of like sore muscles. They don't want to go through this recovery process. They want to hide until they feel better. So sometimes we have to trick the body into going into these different shapes. Hopefully that makes sense. I know it can be confusing sometimes. All right, so maybe some of you are done and ready to move on. So I'll go through the same process. I've got both my hands down. I've already figured out that both feet on the floor, both legs straight, it's not enough for me today. It might be for you. But now I'm going to take my right ankle across my knee, kind of lean into that right hip a bit more. It's there, but not quite enough. So same thing, I'm gonna lift my hand off the ground. So now I'm leaning into my right hand, my right hip, and let's see if I can find it. So it's very exploratory. You almost have to be a bit of a detective, figuring out which version of this roller, which way you need to manipulate your body in order to solve the problem or solve the case. So now I've got it where I'm finally getting into those sweet spots. Good. And sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. Sometimes our muscles are really responsive, and sometimes they're not. Good. All right. So we're going to slowly come back up into that seated position. Take your time. Oh, and I think now's a good time to kind of work through some wrists too. So however you're comfortable sitting, let's start to roll our wrists, because rolling out it's honestly holding a lot of planks. I've probably mentioned that to you before. You have to have really great core control in order to roll out. Now we'll take our right hand or our left hand, it doesn't matter which, and you start to stretch through that forearm. I know I've been talking to some of us this week saying that our hands or our forearms are maybe getting a bit tight. Well, that's very normal. Working through the water, if you've been back in the pool swimming, that's a new muscle group. Your resistance of the water with your hands, there's going to be some pull factor there. Flip your hand over and now do the other side. And then we'll do the other one too. So we'll take that opposite arm, whether it's your left or your right, pull the fingers down, see if we can expose some of those flexors. And then we'll switch it over, pulling from above the knuckle. Very good, and we can release that and just give me a couple more rolls. The last one we're going to do in the seated position is going to be for the hamstrings. So mine were pretty tight during yoga. So now I know I'm going to have to probably approach this a little bit more cautiously. So we sit on the roller. Our legs are out straight. If you are just working with a ball, you'll be tucking the ball underneath your leg. If you have a really bumpy roller, again, I advise maybe having a towel or something just so it's not so hard. We'll start with a forward fold. Big inhale, lift our arms up. And then exhale, reach over the toes or towards the toes. Try to keep your back as flat as possible. Your knees can be a little bit bent. You don't want them so bent that you're avoiding the stretch though. We'll hold this just for a few breaths. Good. And then we'll take our right knee and we'll bend it as we come up. And we're going to, this is always the tricky part, especially when your hamstring's tight and you can feel every part of this. We're going to try to start sitting a little bit farther back on the roller so that the roller can hit different parts of our hamstring. And then what I want you to do, so you can see I've only backed my bum up a little bit and I've got my right foot on the ground for support. My hands are on the ground for support. I want you to kind of rock right to left. Oh, because our hamstrings are made up of a few different muscles. And we're not sure, you know, is it the outside of my leg? Is it the very back of my leg? Is it the inside? Where is it that's actually tight? So by kind of rocking right to left, we might be able to feel that. And now I want to move just a little bit more. So push your bum back a little bit more if you're able to. I know this takes a lot of balance. And if you need to, instead of having your foot on the floor, you could take that right knee kind of behind you, almost like you're doing the splits. So I've kind of got my foot back here. Depends your comfort level here. And then you start rocking. And maybe rock left to right again. So we're all gonna look very different. You might have your foot in front of the roller, you might have your knee behind, and then I want you to back up just one more time. Kind of rock the leg left to right. What we're doing is we're rotating the hip and we're exposing different parts of that hamstring. There's a few different ways to do the hamstring with roller. This is just one of them. All right, and then slowly come back up. Take your time, sitting on the roller again. We'll do the other side. We've got that left foot on the ground for support. Straighten out that right leg. Now I just want you to inch your way back. Just slowly sit your hips back. Oh my goodness, I just found it right away. Yeah, I couldn't really find it on that other side. But that made sense because in yoga, my left leg I could stretch quite easily. My right leg was really tight. So it makes sense now that I've got my right leg straight that I'm feeling it so sensitively. And we'll just go right to left. So these are the sort of pieces I want us to connect. Again, we're a detective solving a case. We're connecting pieces. We're making sense of why our body feels this way, of how we need to go about stretching it to solve the problem. And then we back up just a little bit when we're ready. We can rock right to left. Again, maybe you need to take this supporting leg and bring it around. You have better balance, kind of like a split position here. And then we're going to back up one more time if you can. Kind of rock right to left. Kneading out. It's like you're laying on your stomach on a massage table, and that massage therapist is kneading out the back of your leg right through your hamstring. That's what we're doing right now. All right, now slowly, let's come all the way back up. Make sure you're sitting on the roller, feet are out in front of us, and we'll go through one more forward fold. So you can straighten out those legs. If you don't want to sit on the roller, you don't have to. You can sit on the mat. All right, legs are a little bit spread apart, knees can be a little bit bent. Big inhale, lift up, and exhale, reach forward. Ooh, I got farther. I'm a little bit longer now with my stretch. Let's drop our head. Take a few nice big breaths. And we'll slowly roll up. Take your time, bringing those feet back up. And now we're going to switch over. So we'll come off of the roller for a moment. We're going to go after our lats. So when we were in child pose and we did our stretch to the right, we did our stretch to the left, that's stretching through these muscles that cross the shoulder through the armpit and come down into the ribs, back into our back. A very large muscle group. What we'll do is lay into one hip, and we'll kind of bring our rib cage, or just underneath our armpit, onto the roller. Now I'm going to put this out here. For some of us, this may be all we can do today. If we're feeling extra sensitive, this could be enough to just hold it, take a few breaths, move it a little bit, take a few breaths. Some of us, this might be fine, and we'll be able to roll back and forth, maybe through the tricep a little bit, through the arm, maybe move the roller, go around through the armpit area, and then move the roller and kind of go through the rib. Use your legs to help you, whether you stay in fetal position or if you have to extend one leg or propel yourself with a toe. Again, in this, will all look a little bit different. You might need to lean back a little bit, as I mentioned, through the rib cage. Or if you get to that spot and you just need to hold it and really lay into it. So I want you to own this. This is yours. Whatever you need to do here. Take those big deep breaths. Try not to hold our breath. When it comes to that fight or flight response, sometimes we get a spot and it hurts and we go, and we don't hold our breath. Instead, I want you to relax. Relax those muscles. Deep breathing so we can send that healthy blood to that trouble spot and pick up all the waste products. Clear the cobwebs. All right, and when you're done with that side, very simply, we'll come up out of it and we'll do the other side. If anyone needs to spend more effort on that arm or that set of lats, please feel free to do so. If you are okay with it and you're ready to move on, you can. So we'll just lay on it first, get an idea of comfort level, and then you can start rolling back and forth if you're able to. Whenever you get to that sweet spot, you hold it, maybe you just relax, take a couple breaths. And again, you can explore above the shoulder, more through the tricep. I know lots of us said that their triceps were feeling pretty sensitive today. And we can come past more through the shoulder into that rib area. Maybe holding it again if you feel that spot. And if you are able to, you can come below, more through the lats. Ooh, I just hit some wonderful, crispy, crickly stuff. I'd like to take the kind of, if you imagine jerky, that dried textured meat or preserves, that crickly crackly, and turn it back into a nice floppy piece of meat or fruit. So less crickly crackly. That's what we're trying to do right now, is get everything back into that softer state, a little bit more pliable. All right, so if you're happy here, you can keep going. Otherwise, I'm going to come up and out of that. Take your time. Oh my goodness. And we'll just bring those legs around and sit up comfortably. And you can take your roller and lift it all the way up above your head. So if you got a short roller, your arms will be closer together. Big roller like mine, my arms are a bit farther apart. We're just exposing those lats, opening up. And you can kind of tilt to the right, tilt to the left. All right, and then releasing that. The next ones that we're going to do are through the front of the shoulder into the pecs. So this could be considered the deltoid, or I like to think of it as your shirt sleeve muscle. This shirt sleeve is a group called your deltoid. And this front can get really tight, especially if we were hunchy or moving forward into the chest. So now how we're going to go about this is when we get to use our spider monkey positioning. We'll try to get my roller set up just so you can really see it. Get your arm palm down so you can expose the front of your shoulder. You want to lay that right on top. So if I were laying down on the floor, it's going to look like this. That's what we're going to try to do. So then with your spider monkey, you kind of have to sprawl your legs out so that you can press back and forth. And you can have your legs straight. You could be laying completely on your stomach. I like being up on my knees because then I can control how much pressure I push into this. And you just saw me move my roller. I had to reposition it. It wasn't quite on the right diagonal. Now I've got it. And some of you will also prefer to do this up against a wall. And that's why you've got your ball, so that you can place your ball and it just pinpoints it a little bit more. And then up against the wall, you control how much you press into it. So if you prefer that, by all means, please take that approach. Again, this is very individual. I want you to own it. This is your recovery. Beautiful. If that feels okay, we're going to switch sides. If you need to spend a little bit more time holding, breathing, rolling, please feel free to do so. And this will be our last stretch we'll go through. Okay, so this side is already incredibly more sensitive. So I'm just going to control how much I press down. I might have to go a bit slower. Again, it's amazing how we can be so different left to right without judgment. That's okay. What I want you to do is, you're the detective solving the case. Maybe ask yourself, why is this left side feeling tighter? Or why? And maybe you can figure it out. Maybe it's how you sleep, or which hand is dominant, what you use more. For anyone driving, perhaps you lean on that shoulder. There's lots of reasons. We just have to kind of think back and see if it's something we should change, something we should be aware of, or if we need to just spend the extra time going through this recovery. We'll just take a couple more breaths. Good, and we can slowly come out of that. Again, if you're still working through it, please take your time. Don't let me rush you. You can set that roller aside if you are in fact done with it, and we'll just join together sitting down so that we can stretch through our shoulders and our neck with two different types of stretches to conclude our practice. The first one will be another thread the needle. We start with our thumbs up to the ceiling. Bring the right arm across as we thread with the left. Keep that shoulder down. The tendency is to hike it up. That's accidentally cheating, right? We're letting the muscles hide. Keep everything in great posture, and then lean your head towards those hands a bit. So now we're getting to stretch through the neck muscles and the traps. Good, just nice slow breaths. We'll open those arms up, big inhale. Exhale left, and we scoop. Again, if you feel like your arms are all bunchy, just draw your shoulders together. I want amazing posture. We don't want to practice bad posture. We want to practice good posture. Tilting that head over. Noticing if this feels like something we maybe should be repeating throughout the weekend. Maybe it's a stretch that we need to do a few times. And then we open up, big inhale. Now take your left hand to your knee, push that right hand away, tilting the left ear down towards the shoulder again. So we're trying to expose that right side of the neck one last time. I'm gonna come up to the middle, and then we can press that left arm away. Good. Coming back to the middle, just take a few shoulder rolls. That felt so wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me today. We're going to say our final goodbye so that we can conclude our practice with our namaste. If you'd like to sit so tall, whatever your legs are, whatever position is most comfortable, so that you're able to sit up tall and upright. Please remember to drink lots of water. Today, we just flushed a lot of stuff around our body, so let's do some more self-care throughout our day. And with that, taking our big inhale, hands coming up above head to prayer. Exhaling down through heart center. Namaste. Thank you so much, everybody.